1989. Romania is in turmoil. Communist dictator Nicolae Ceausescu has been overthrown, and his horrible legacy is revealed. There are reports of thousands of Romanian children abandoned in orphanages. People from around the world head for Romania to adopt the children. Among them are 6 New Zealanders. They adopt a baby from a hospital, Anna. A 2-year-old boy from an orphanage, Stefan. A gypsy baby, Florina. And a boy from Moldova, Josh. 8 years later, the children are going back to Romania to meet their birth families, to see where they came from.
Dear Nikolai and Mihaela, our names are Bill and Helen Sageman. In 1991, we travelled to Romania and adopted 2 children, a girl, Florina, from Medjugorje, and a boy from Navadar orphanage, Stefan. We believe that Stefan may have been placed in an orphanage by Mihaela in 1989. If you are Stefan's birth parents, we would like you to know that he is alive and well. We tried to find you when we adopted Stefan with no success. We would really like to establish contact with you. We believe it is important for him to know where he comes from and who his family are. We realise this may be a shock for you. Please let us know how you feel about this. Love, Bill and Helen, Stefan and Florina. I had 3 grown-up daughters from a previous marriage. Then when Bill and I got together, we really wanted to have a family together, but I couldn't have any more children, so we saw all the TV coverage of all the children in the rows and rows of cots. And
yeah, it was the cots, kids in the cots banging their heads against the walls. And
rocking. Just terrible deprivation, really. We asked around and found out that there was an inter-country adoption group and got in touch with them, and that's really where it started.
In March 1991, Bill and Helen boarded a plane for Bucharest, Romania. There they employed Romanian translator and former Olympic water polo player Stefan Marica to help arrange the adoptions.
we went off to a place called the Commission, which is the Romanian adoption committee, if you like, that was looking after children. We had to front up with our papers and they checked them out to make sure they were okay and that we were okay parents, and they came out and gave us a slip of paper with 2 names on it. So it was a matter of the end of tootling off to the orphanage.
We're going to turn left, but not here.
Directly?
Keep going, yes. Well, you came to the outside of it and it was just a very austere building, and we went in up the stairs through a big long corridor and you couldn't see any sign of children. You couldn't even hear children really, and the first thing I noticed was they did have some stuffed toys and things hanging up along the walls out of children's reach.
Bill and Helen were given the choice of 2 infant boys.
We were somehow expected to look at them and decide, and it was, you know, I'll have that one or that one.
The other boy, Nikolai, was very outgoing, and when they brought Stefan in, he just sort of, Helen picked him up and he just laid in her arms and didn't move.
In the end, it was easy because one of them wasn't actually available, so we were left with Stefan, which was great, really, not having to make the choice.
This is Stefan. This is our Stefan.
And then we started throwing him around, just swinging him backwards and forwards, and I probably was about the 2nd or 3rd visit, and just one day, all of a sudden, there was this little smile came. He had never smiled, and this little smile on the corner of his mouth. It was just incredible. We were still very keen to adopt another child as well.
We went with Stefan up to a place called Medjugorje, and he says, I know a doctor here. He says, there's a girl here who says she's going to put her baby into an orphanage or adoption. Are you interested, type of thing? And they eventually brought this girl out and asked her a few questions. Is it true that you want to adopt your baby, or you're going to put it in the orphanage? And she said yes. And
They were very hard on her, I thought. And she started crying, and I don't know what it was, but I just felt so sort of drawn to her, and I went up and put my arms around her and cuddled her, and I don't know, it was just really special. She decided right there and then that she would like us to take her baby and give her a chance in life. And so we arranged to go back and pick her up again when she was 6 days old.
Stefan, you're off to New Zealand today.
One of the requirements was, before we could adopt them, that we had to try and trace them, parents. We had to go to great lengths to do that. Our interpreter took us to the local police station, and we had to make inquiries. I think several people had tried to adopt him before and had failed.
yeah, that's what we were told. Well, we didn't actually find very much out at all, apart from the fact that he was abandoned. And they thought that he had come from up north. It wasn't really until we got back to New Zealand and we was given a document that we found out that his parents' name and the fact that he had 2 siblings.
Once upon a time in a faraway land. Well, not far away, but in fact very close, right here in New Zealand. There was a mum and a dad. Do you know who they were? Yes, that's right. Your mum and dad.
Yeah. Well, we've made quite an effort to maintain contact with Florina's family and also to track down Stefan's family.
Mum and Dad went to Romania on a big plane.
The children are proud, very proud that they are Romanian, and we really encourage that, and that's why we want to go back and take them back.
Here they met a girl called Florica, who took us to see a tiny baby who was crying. Do you know what her name was? Yes, you are right, Florina. I know that I come from Romania because my mum and dad tell me. And I'm always remembering that. And you can tell by my eyes. They talk about where we're going, and I don't think there's no electricity in Romania. They might not have that much shoes. I don't think they've got any toys, so it might be a bit boring for them. Mum and Dad thought he was a lovely boy and gave him lots of hugs and kisses. My mum and Dad want me to come back to see the car that I was born in. In the room I was in.
With Stefan, the talk of going back, we always said, well, we'll go back and we'll visit your orphanage. That was really the only thing that he had. And in the meantime, we had been trying. Bill wrote several letters and to try and trace the parents, but the letters just, we got nothing from those. So then our friend Simona, who's a Romanian, went to Romania, and she had a contact in the police department and who had a contact in the records department.
Simona has asked a friend, Valentine Ilie, to investigate a possible address she's discovered for Stefan's birth parents. Bill and Helen also know Valentine from their first visit to Romania in 1991. Today they're calling him through Simona to see if he's found Stefan's birth parents.
Oh, I feel nervous.
Are you there?
Yes.
Hang on, ring again, okay?
Okay.
Hello?
Hi, Valentine.
Hey, I love you all the time.
I love you too.
I give you a big surprise. It's a big surprise for you.
We found them, Helen!
Oh,
We found them!
they've found them. They've found them. Where?
Yeah, in Constanța. St. Valentine. Is that area in Constanța, Valentine, you just told me? It's at the limit of Constanța, isn't it?
Oh,
Yeah. I try to tell you in English and very
Yes.
shortly.
Helen.
Yes.
He just told me very brief. So he looked for the family in that area for many hours, and he couldn't find them.
Oh.
And once he was so tired, it was very cold, and he stopped the car, and he saw a little boy with a bike and told him that boy was exactly Stefan.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, he was. He said not twins, they were clones.
So this wasn't Stefan's brother?
Yes, it was Stefan.
He just ran into him in the street?
Yeah.
How incredible. And does he look...
Well, tell me what's your name. And he said, Pitik Florin. And he
Florine. Florine, Stefan. That's your big brother.
The address was wrong, but after 8 years of searching, the Sageman family have finally found Stefan's birth parents, by chance.
That is just...
It's a clone.
It's Stefan and Florina's birthday party, and they're celebrating with a unique group of friends. Most of these kids are adopted from Romania, and 5 of their families are about to make the return trip with the Sagemans. The group includes Melody and Mike Aisleby. The couple have a daughter, Sasha, adopted from New Zealand. But their eldest child is Romanian. 8 years ago, he was a baby named Alexandru. Mike and Melody named him Josh.
Alexandra Okeanu, I wouldn't have been called if I still lived in Romania in my house, but they couldn't afford much stuff with 3 children, so they just had to put one in that orphanage, which was me. I was probably the bad one.
Well, the adoption came about because we couldn't have children naturally. We weren't quite at the end of the line as far as fertility treatment was concerned, but Romania came into the limelight and there were so many kids that needed families. It meant we were going to be able to solve our problem by going to Romania and adopting a child.
We found him in a little place called To Romaina, which is about 40 km south of Burlad, north of Bucharest. We actually got told that he was there by the man that was it was the receptionist, Clark, in the hotel that we'd stayed the night in. And he told us that there was a little boy in this hospital in To Romaina. We got in to see him and we knew straight away. We looked in the cot and here he was, he's lying there and he smiled at us and we just knew straight away.
Mike and Melody approached Josh's birth parents, Natasha and Kostika Okeanu, who agreed to the adoption. Back in New Zealand, they noticed Josh had an unusual habit.
Oh, go on, you're putting your finger to the nose. You're being rude.
I guess for 9 months, or at least 6 months that he was in the hospital, Josh had no toys, nothing to play with, so he used to occupy himself with his hands and his feet.
And you just lie there laughing at his foot.
They also discovered that Josh had a viral paralysis affecting the left-hand side of his body, most noticeable in his hand.
We were told that he was put in there because he was underweight, but I don't think that's correct. I think he was put in there because of his hand.
We often wondered what would happen to Josh if we'd left him there, if we hadn't adopted him.
He may have ended up in an orphanage for irrecuperables, but then again, the family may have got him out and taken him back home, so we don't know, and we don't really like to think about it.
Clap hands for Daddy!
When we said goodbye to Natasha, when we collected Josh from the hospital, she asked for our address, and initially I was a bit spooked by it, wondering if she was going to try and blackmail us or whatever. That wasn't the case at all, of course, and when we got that first letter, we were absolutely delighted to have the contact, and it really just started from there.
I was in the orphanage for about nine months. I'm not sure when I got put in there. People say, you're Romanian, and I say, yeah. It kind of hurts my feelings, though, because some people that I know say that, like, to my mum, that's not your real mum, because your real mum lives in Romania, but I know that's not true.
Ken and Joe Oborn are also part of the group returning to Romania. They plan to take their adopted daughter, Anna, to meet her Romanian birth parents.
We were thinking initially that we would perhaps adopt an older child. As it turned out, when we got there, things were a lot more difficult than we thought. And it's not like, as so many people thought, you walked into a hospital or an orphanage and you could walk down and say, well, yes, I'll have that. Well, I mean, it just wasn't like that. You had to find through the authorities which children were available for adoption. A lot of that was a very grey area a lot of the time, and then you had to find birth parents, and it was, you know, quite an ordeal. Stefan was our interpreter in Romania, and he took us to the hospital in Constanța. It was very difficult to find out, you know, what children were available.
So she's available, not 100%.
But he found Anna. Anna had got sick very shortly after she'd been born, and she was transferred into a hospital in a place called Medjugorje by her birth parents. The hospital, Medjugorje, felt that she was too sick for them to care for. She apparently had bronchopneumonia. So they transferred her to Constanța. When Anna's birth parents went to Medjugorje to find her, to see her, she had gone, and they didn't really know where she was. So they then went home. Stefan got their names, and he went to the village to find them and say, well, look, you know, your daughter's in this hospital, and we have some people here that would like to adopt her.
So we were bundled in the car and driven at great speed to Altina. We arrived and we walked up this muddy path into this, it was basically a mud hut, wasn't it, with straw and a few animals, a cart. Stefan talked away, and we showed some photographs. They had a look at us and we had a look at them, and
we'd seen Anna, and we just felt it was, you know, it was just right. And I was thinking, oh, please let them say yes, please let them say yes.
Cum te chiama?
The mother and the grandmother were for it right from the word go, but it was the father who was reluctant. It was his responsibility. He had a brother-in-law in Constanța who he respected, and he wanted to discuss it with him, and they'll make their decision.
Anyway, we stayed and talked for quite some time, and then we went back to Bucharest. There was a discussion between the family, the extended family, to get a general consensus as what was the right thing to do for Anna. We waited, and they then agreed that it would be a good thing for Anna to be, you know, taken away from the hospital and perhaps given an opportunity somewhere else.
The day of the adoption came, and we were all sitting in the waiting room, and Marin got up and walked out, and he signalled to Fanika to go with him. And I thought I was just going out for a cigarette. Anyway, they didn't come back. And then we realised they had gone. Well, I nearly had a nervous breakdown at that point. It was just like they had disappeared. And anyway, everyone was out combing the streets, and eventually it was that Stefan or somebody found them and brought them back. And apparently Marin had changed his mind, decided that he didn't want to do this now. But Stefan talked to him, and I don't really know why he changed his mind. And it was horrible for us, because we had had this child for a week already, and I was sitting there thinking, they are now going to say we can't adopt her. And I just felt like throwing up on the spot. It was horrible. But anyway, they came back in, and we went in to see the judge, and he said to them, are you happy to adopt this child? And he said yes.
Mum and Dad want me to go back to Romania because so I can see my birth parents and see all my cousins and aunties, and so I can see how they live. I'm looking forward to seeing them because I haven't seen them since I was 5 months old. I was worried about when I go over there, they might say, oh, who are you? And they might forget who we are.
She must be the cook or something.
Well, I've been thinking Jack Lay's Castle is going to be really good. I hope they have
like my brother
rides like we do, like at Rainbow's End.
She's going on a holiday as far as she's concerned. I don't think she's really, you know, thinking deeply about it at all. We feel that so much research has been done about children that come from different countries needing to know their identity. But we also feel that by going back and seeing what it is really like, she will understand better, perhaps, why she was adopted.
Yeah, you're right.
And the opportunity that we've got here of going back with 6 families means that she knows these other children really well. They've grown up together and they'll be able to share their experiences. And as they grow up and become teenagers, and if they have issues that they have to deal with then, they've got each other to give support to.
We want to go back because we want Josh to experience Romania. I want him to have first-hand knowledge when he's talking to people about his country of origin. At the moment, it's all just hearsay. It's what we've told him.
This is who they are, and they need to see who they are and where they've come from before they can make sense of the rest of their lives.
The New Zealand families have arrived in Romania, where they meet their friend and translator, Simona Marica.
I think they were a bit daunted, weren't they? Just a bit, sort of, wee bit scared.
It was good flying into Bucharest. I felt really excited about being there. It feels the same, but there's a lot more colour. There was no advertising when we were here. That was one of the things that really struck me. So yes, it's definitely on the outside it has changed in appearance, but it still does feel the same.
I don't want to sit here. That
The bigger one. Look for sights, people beating. And from one of these balconies up here, Ceausescu made all his speeches to the local population. Ceausescu, the dictator, decided that the way to get the country moving was to double the population. So he outlawed abortion, contraception, he taxed people who had small families. He had set up a group of people called the baby police who would go around and check women to make sure they haven't had abortions and weren't using contraception. He decided to do a massive industrialisation, so he went around, built all these huge factories, raised villages, moved them all into these concrete high-rise buildings. It's understandable that the only way they can survive is by getting rid of the children. So they put their children into orphanages. There's just no money in the state. So the orphanages are terrible. You know, it's just horrible.
It's that department store that we went to.
I was too. Look at that.
Last time.
Last time we came here.
We went looking for a pair of boots.
See that lady there, through there? She's got a little baby and she's going to every car asking for money because she's so poor. That's how she gets by. Not many people give to them either.
Right, here we have Ceausescu's palace. He built this house, or if you can call it a house, or the pallet for himself, his wife, and his 2 children. It is enormous. What an idiot.
From Bucharest, the families travel east to the city of Constanza by the Black Sea. For the Sagemans and Oborns, this will be their base for a week while they spend time with their children's Romanian birth families. On the first morning, the Sageman family prepare to visit Florina's birth mother, Florica, in the village of Porto Alba. It'll be the first of many visits to her over the following week.
Today we're going out to visit, hopefully, both of their birth families. I think Florina's birth family will get a warm welcome there, but I'm still nervous about it all the same.
I'm going to take some toys to my birth family. We've got McDonald's toys for all our birth parents.
That would be for the little 2-year-old.
I think the house would be very small, and I think they'll be very, very pleased to see me.
It's so important, really. This is a big moment we've been waiting for a long time, so I'm a bit scared that it's not going to go well. Totally stressed out. All that'll have to do.
I'm a bit concerned that she's going to be overawed by it all. The last time we were here, the village just sort of surrounded the car, and it was all go. But when you go, you sort of lose control because of the language. It's like you turn up and the language and the dialogue is happening between the family and the interpreter. So you sort of feel a bit sort of on the edge, on the outer. There's Nellie.
Is it?
That tall man there?
Oh, yes, that's your birth grandfather.
We stop here?
Yeah. Oh, they're all waiting.
She's just come out now.
The grandmother was there and she came across first. There's lots of kisses and hugs.
Hello.
Florica come rushing up. It's Nellie.
Oh, it's good to see you.
Florina was, she decided that, hey, things were a bit strange here, so she latched onto me and held onto me quite tightly for a while.
Now, I think she was pretty sort of shy about the whole thing. It was a bit overcoming for her. Oh, look, Florina. It was wonderful to walk into this little hovel, basically, and see Florina's photos all around the wall. We talked about Florina quite a bit. Told her how she was getting on at school and all that sort of thing. She told us how she's not very well and she's got an ulcer and that things are very hard. You could tell that from the conditions. The smell as you went into the room was kind of overpowering, really.
Can you ask where the father is? Is he?
Yeah, he's gone fishing.
Fishing?
Yeah. What form is she now?
She's in her 3rd year at school. I kind of feel that it's one of the only excitements in their life is the fact that they've got a birth daughter living on the other side of the world, and yeah, that's pretty sad, really. I feel very close to Florica, and you know, I just feel she has such a hard life.
I didn't feel that happy because I was a bit embarrassed because everyone was staring at me. The house was a bit smelly. I just ignored the smell. Like, I just didn't say anything about it.
You see the contrast between the kids in the village, and then Florina turns up and she's got the hair's nicely washed and brushed, and the fact that she goes on planes and cars, and just like the movies to them, really.
Hard being the centre of attention,
Yeah,
isn't it?
because you're the princess.
I-a spus că bine că s-a dus acolo la unde a luat-o, aici ce să facă, să facă foame, cum a crescut și ea la
She's very like her birth mother. Just had more opportunities, really.
The Sageman family are now on their way back to Constanza to visit Stefan's long-lost birth parents. The two families are about to meet for the first time.
My fears for Stefan is that we're going to get there and the people aren't going to be there. Or if they're there, they may not want to have anything to do with him.
They may even say that, no, he's not our child.
Is this straight?
Asta e strada?
Nu. Acum prima la dreapta. First in the right.
And Valentine wasn't sure of the exact address and the exact number. I was videoing and we got the whole video of the street virtually in the hope that we would connect with these people as soon as we turned up.
Valentine, care este? Asta e 126.
Așa e, amândouă sunt 126, că sunt de cel.
And then when we get there, there's nobody home. So we get there and the neighbour came out and screeched off down the street like a flying banshee, yelling out, and the neighbour started to form around, and next thing this young boy comes up and he's a spitting image of Stefan, all right?
Florin. Florin. Și el e Stefan, este fratele tău. Ei sunt părinți.
El e Bill și ea e Helen și ea este sora lui.
L-am adus.
Bine ați venit, copii.
Poftiți înăuntru acum.
Ne scuzați că am fost și noi, pe că nu știam când. Ea este Simona. El este asta, ei sunt părinții și el este copilul vostru.
They suddenly saw Stefan, and immediately, of course, they recognised that he was their son. I mean, there's no doubting that.
So we go inside? Da, puțin. Come on, darling.
Well, I was very quiet going through the gate because I was a bit shy. It looks pretty poor and pretty strange.
I was more concerned about their reaction to him. I didn't want him to get rebuffed, but it didn't turn out like that. Well, the mother couldn't wait to get her hands on him anyway.
Este sora lui Florin?
Da, e sora lui Florin, Ionela Cătălin.
Florin's sister? It's your sister. Stefan, you are the sister.
Dar luați loc pe scaun sau ca să-i... Lăsați, what you tell to your brother and your mother?
Mihaela was very restless. Apart from being upset, she was wringing her hands and constantly moving, and so she does appear to have some sort of nervous disorder. So that might explain why our son has some sort of problems as well. And can you tell us the circumstances why Stefan was in the orphanages? Because
Puteți să-i spuneți cum, dacă știți, cum a ajuns Ștefan de la orfelinat?
Da, din cauza că condițiile care erau cu chirie, noi acum am început să ne facem câteva lucrușoare așa. Înainte aveam o situație precară foarte grea.
Dar prin muncă le-am făcut toate.
Da.
Doctoră care îngrijea de la copilul mic, așa.
Când ați născut?
Când am născut.
Ștefan.
Da,
nu lua în greutate.
Atunci nu lua în greutate și a fost obligat ca să-l dau la spital și pe urmă la o casă de copii până când îmi fac casă, ceea ce în România nu se poate
face. Când veți avea casă și când veți avea condiții de creștere, noi o să vi-l dăm înapoi. Și când m-am dus acolo să-l iau, doctorul, și când m-am dus acolo să iau copilul, nu mai era copilul.
Și ce ați zis atunci? The people that told them to give up on it obviously knew where the child is being adopted, what country, but they didn't want to tell them.
maybe I shouldn't have asked that question, but I really wanted to know the answer. So it does seem that it was poverty, it was poor conditions, and the doctor suggested that he be put into a hospital for a while. He was having trouble feeding. But from their reaction to Stefan now, I do feel they're pretty genuine. They did have every intention of going back and getting him, which also makes you feel pretty awful, really, in a way that we've got him now, and there's no way we're going to part with him. And I think they realise that. Were you taking great care of your son? Can you tell him?
Zice că au avut foarte mare grijă de el.
Da,
se vede. They can say that.
Condițiile,
Vedeți că e sănătos.
Condițiile care sunt în afară, oricum nu pot să le comparăm cu România.
Da, they know the conditions outside.
Lucrez ca docher, ca docher.
We love him a lot. We do love him.
Zice că ei îl iubesc foarte mult.
Să fie sănătos.
Da, dumneavoastră când v-ați dus la spital și v-au zis că l-a transferat la orfelinat, nu v-ați dus la orfelinat să-l luați de acolo?
Nu, că a zis că mergem, adică când ne stabilim într-un loc și facem documentație, că avem un loc stabil, așa, adică
Cum
un loc
suntem acum cu chirie, vedeți? Acum locuim cu chirie acum.
Când am proprietatea mea, atunci, adică să aduc ceva că am în condiții de creștere și educare.
Da, și v-ați dus când el avea 2 ani sau cum?
Da, și mi-a zis ca să merg că deja este adoptat.
Când ei s-au dus, când ei l-au găsit, ei au vrut să vă caute pe dumneavoastră. Și cei de la guvern, de la stat, au zis că ați fost abandonat. Și că nu aveți cu...
Dacă ar fi acum să ne dăm față în față, eu sunt sigur că aș avea perfecte dreptate. Nu că mă supăr, dar să știți, mă supăr de minciuni.
Da, cei de la guvern, cei de la guvern au făcut asta.
Ne-au făcut multe, mai ales
nu au fost cei de la guvern, cei de la spital.
Și de la spital și de peste
ei l-au găsit la orfelinat.
Whoever that person in authority was had put him on the list because he was on the national list for adoption. So they sort of have the power, untold power, to just alter people's lives through a little stroke of a pen. And of course, we didn't know any of this. We just thought he was abandoned.
Așa, și când am venit acasă și mi-a zis băiatul Florin că Ștefăniță trăiește, pur și simplu nu știam ce să fac, ori să râd, ori să plâng, eram așa, într-o situație mai dificilă.
I think there have been a few things that have happened that are just, I don't know, from God or something, because Valentine finding Florin on the street, it seems incredible, doesn't it?
Tell him it's important for us that Stefan knows who his family are.
A zis că înțeleg foarte bine ce spune și că pentru ei este foarte important ca Ștefan să știe.
Și dacă nu ne consideră ca părinți, măcar ca buni prieteni.
Măcar ca buni prieteni.
Adică să nu spun asta.
They didn't have enough food, and they told me to leave. That the doctor told them to leave me in the orphanage because they did not have a very good house. So I was put into 3 orphanages, and then when my mother had her house, she went back and I was gone. My mum and dad snuck me out of the orphanage.
I mean, the whole part with the kids is just being truthful, and whatever comes out, and we'll deal with it.
I think it's better that we've found them and maybe have the odd problem about it than not have found them.
The Aisleby family are travelling north to the town of Burlard, where they plan to visit Tutova Hospital, the place they found Josh.
This, when we came here, this was for babies that were very sick this room.
Oh, we wanted to go there. Well, I wanted to go there. I'm sure Melody's the same, for memories. It's important, and it's Josh's, where we found Josh.
I saw the room that I was in. It was room 5. It had this big baby there. That one actually looked kind of old. There was one at the back on the left-hand side that looked handicapped because it was moveless, or it was like me. I couldn't move much of my body. There was this room with just babies that couldn't hold their heads up and stuff. They were just crying. And then there's this other one that I like that looked a bit like Stefan, but it wasn't, but he was a little roughy. I don't know his name, but he's a little tuffy, like Stefan. Wait. And I hope someone adopts them. Especially the ones that cry a lot. I just hope that they get a better life. Hope they get a good life.
All of us that were there sort of thinking, what can we do about it? Is there any way, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could take some of these children? Is there any way we could adopt one of these kids? Because it tears at your heart.
Look in your bed.
Towards the end, when we had to go, and all the children were all crying, and we were sort of upsetting them, I felt, and we sort of intruded on their lives, and we weren't going to do anything about it. We weren't going to change their lives or help change their lives, and I don't know, it was just that funny sort of feeling.
The Aisleby family are now heading to Vaslui, where they'll spend several days with Josh's birth mother, Natasha.
Very shortly we'll be meeting Josh's mum, who we said goodbye to 8 years ago, and his grandparents, who we've never met. Very important for Joshua, an older brother and sister, who he is desperate to meet. I don't know how it's going to go. I mean, I'm sure it'll be fine. Other people have had good experiences, and I'm sure we will too. I hope we do.
Yeah, that water tower thing down there. I'm thinking a bit nervous as well. A bit happy, sort of. I'm not sure what they're going to be like. They will be like, hugging and kissing me and all that stuff. I know, they probably are real, all the wheels in the world excited. Is this their house?
Come here, show they receiving you with presents.
Hello, Mom. Hello, Mama.
Boy, look at her.
Pâine și cu sare ca la români. De aici o bucățică de pâine și mai în sare. Hai, Sasha. Haide. Hai, Sasha. Hello. Hello.
Ei, și băiați are bunică.
Ia. Eu, Maria. Iată-o. Natasha, hai. Lângă mama. Uite ce bine semeni cu mama.
We were led to believe that Kostika, Josh's birth father, was going to be there, and we didn't want to make a big thing, a big issue about it, because obviously we were pleased to see them and didn't want to upset them by asking where Kostika was.
Lovely to see you.
Ceremony. Not only Natasha told the whole family, she told the whole village. And I was coming, but the whole village is really my family, really.
We were pleased at the way he was handling it, and the grandfather Vasily said, you know, oh, what child doesn't enjoy it at his grandparents' place?
Just wanted to reassure them that we're looking after Josh, giving them the help probably that they can't, and they know that. What came back to us through Simona was that they were pleased that he was looking the way he did, and they were very happy for him.
Pentru mine această legătură e exact ca o familie, deci și dumneavoastră și părinții copilului fac parte din familia mea, deci copilul nu pot să spun că este străin, exact cum ar fi la mine acasă, este crescut, deci eu ca mamă, cum îi cresc pe ăștia la alți doi, deci și ei tot la fel. Deci, îmi pare bine că au ajuns unde trebuia să ajung. Eu n-am visat niciodată că îl nasc pentru a-l da departe, nu s-a pus problema.
Și mai vrea băiatul.
Deci mai e. Acum câțiva ani normal luat o decizie mai greu pentru a-l da. Că unde creșteau ăștia doi putea să crească. Și dânsi. Pentru că unde creșteau Mihaela și cu Andrei putea să crească și el. Dar el a avut probleme și de mic. L-am născut cum l-am născut. L-am dus la spital, nu creștea 7 luni de zile. Bine, au stat acasă după 7 luni de zile, mi făcea probleme tot ce mânca, nu asimila, l-am dus la spital, am dat bani la doctor. După aia noi avem bani, spitalul de aici la Vaslui mi-a zis, doamnă, nu avem ce să vă facem, trebuie să meargă la Totova. Eu nu am fost de acord, pentru că nu aveam bani de tren pe acolo să merg. Și în ultima perioadă nu m-am mai dus să vizitez. Și m-am gândit vreodată că copilul meu o să ajungă. Deci atunci era copilul meu, acum nu mai este al meu. Deci mă doare pe undeva totuși. Familia lui sănătoasă, să-l crească, să ajungă și el cineva în viață, dacă învață așa să fie. Să aibă și el grijă de noi. Eu cu timpul poate îmbătrânesc, nu o să mai fiu, dar el o să rămână cu frații lui, să-i mai ajute. Poate o să aibă și el un serviciu mai bun, vedeți că la noi aici, poate o să-i fie și el, poate o să-i facă o chemare sau poate și eu la atunci bătrâneți, înainte de a închide ochii, poate vine să zică, hai mamă, sau hai Natasha și tu la mine să vezi unde stau.
Kids are playing soccer outside with the sound of it. Look of it. The radio's out the window for some reason. I guess it's to tell the neighbours that we're having a party.
We did have a good time, and we were having a party, and we were drinking wine, eating all these foods, of courses, heaps of courses of food. We were outside, and then we got called in to eat another course, and then we went back out, and then we got called in to eat another course, and then we went out again.
The Oborn family are about to meet Anna's birth parents, Marin and Fanika, for the first time since her adoption. On the way, they've picked up Anna's Aunt Dorina, who's the sister of Anna's birth father, Marin.
I found yesterday after visiting one of the other birth families how emotional the whole situation is likely to be. I'm a little bit concerned because Anna's birth father apparently drinks a lot. I mean, hopefully we can better the situation of the family as a whole, but I don't want to better it just so that he can drink it down the drain.
Is that their house?
Hi. We've had the odd moments of thinking, crikey, Dick, what's likely going to be, the outcome of all of this? But we've been planning it for such a long time. It's something now that is here, and we're doing it.
Where are they?
They're down and visiting some friends. It's a bit hard to see these people who are extremely different, coming up and kissing and cuddling her. I can see she gets a bit shell-shocked at times.
She just put the luggage in her cart and the daughter, and she's just shifted in this village, just on another street to this village.
When we first got there, we went to the house where the parents had lived before to find that 2 days before we arrived, they'd split up.
He's coming right now.
We knew we could find out where both of them were. The father still lived in the house, but he wasn't there at the time. Somebody went to get the father, Marin, and he'd been drinking that morning.
Yeah.
How are you? Good.
Of course, when he came up, it was an extremely emotional moment. And he sort of grabbed Anna and gave her a big hug and a kiss, but he was a little bit overwhelming for Anna. I think she got a bit of a shock and found it pretty difficult.
Shall we go inside? Hi. Can we go inside? Hi. Yeah, can we go inside?
I definitely felt it was a mistake at one stage when we went into the house. All it was a little veranda with a bed in it, and then another very small room which would have been about 10 by 10 at the most.
Oh, cool. Nu e femeia?
Lenuța.
Lenuța.
Mi-a luat și fotografiile și toate, mi-a luat tot.
Dar ce s-a întâmplat? Cum v-ați certat?
Și acum ea una e și... Eu la prima dată cu care este iar cu el acum, ajunge că sunt mulțumesc că vă spun treaba asta, e și gravidă, la cuvântul că nu este cu el. Eu sunt așa la ceartă că nu este cu mine. Eu am plecat la muncă, la omul ăsta care nu lucrez. Ne-am zis că e Moravia. Când m-am întors, n-am mai găsit nimic.
Deci ea e gravidă?
Da.
The problem was that Marin was angry with Fanika because she had left and had gone back to her previous partner. She was also pregnant to her previous partner. He was feeling very aggressive towards her. He kept calling for Anna to go and sit on his knee, and I could see Anna's face just turning to despair and tears welling up in the eyes, and I thought, oh, this is just awful, like, I shouldn't be putting her through this.
You know how to count to 10? Do you want to count to 10? Do you want to show him?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Wow, good.
Fiecare și un viitor înaintar, cum să spun așa, foarte, foarte bine.
He's saying he's very happy and he's never been sorry for what he did.
Nu mi-a părut rău și nici nu-mi pare.
He will never be sorry for what he did. And he knows that she's got a future.
Lumea asta mai spuneam, băi, bleagă, tu ai să pleci, mă, o să vin oamenii mâine, păi nu să vină la Oltina. Tu ce faci, mă? Mai tu îndrăgneam să vii la mine, că am zis că omor în poartă dacă vine.
Să nu faci treaba asta altfel, pentru noi toți.
Both children were elsewhere, and his sister was with her mother, and his brother was with a family friend. So we had this little jigsaw puzzle to put together to try and get everybody at one place at one time to try and get them together to see Anna.
But now we had the problem that we had Fanika with her new partner Vasile, and then we had Marin, who was ready to beat somebody up, basically.
Is that Rachel in the back?
You want to go straight to see Fanika and Lenutza? You want to go home?
It wasn't as good as I thought it would be. He was drunk. There was lots of people outside. He kept putting me on his knee and I didn't like it.
Not far.
Yeah, I know. I was just wondering, because Anna's still a bit upset. I was just wondering about her having a bit of space for a little while.
Okay, so do you want us to stop somewhere?
Yeah, round the corner we could just stop so she could...
To diffuse the situation, Ken and Joe are taking Anna for a walk while their translator Simona looks for the rest of Anna's birth family.
I wanted to snatch her away, but it was, here is a man greeting his long-lost daughter. I felt that I couldn't really do that. But now as the time stretches a little bit afterwards, I think, well, we have to assert ourselves and say, well, we're not prepared to have our daughter stressed to that extent.
It was all pretty highly tuned.
That's the thing. Everything has to be in Anna's best interest, and I don't think that Marin being around at the moment is in her best interest. She needs a bit of space.
And this is a nice open, and there's no smells.
Well, what about that?
Well, other than that,
Except for the pigs.
Yeah, well, yeah.
After an hour, Simona has returned with Anna's birth mother, Fanika, and her birth brother and sister.
Oh. Nu strângi tare, Fanika. Fanika. Încet, Ana Luisa Basilica.
It was really nice to see her again. She's a very quiet, gentle person. And I felt really good to see her again, and I felt really good for Anna to see her. Fanika, I think, she was quite emotional. By this stage, I was almost on planet 9. I don't know really where I was. Vasilika. It was a bit unfortunate because Simona had gone to get them, and by the time she'd collected Fanika and Lenutza and then gone to another place to get Vasile, there was a large crowd of people sort of towing along behind, so it wasn't quite the intimate moment that we wanted.
Ce frumoasă e, seamănă cu tine,
But it was lovely to see her. I felt really good seeing Fanika again, and of course it wasn't as stressful as it had been with Marin.
Ți-e frică? Atunci ce ai? Glonț. They call him Bullet because he's very fast.
I'll take a photo. I would rather go home and stay there at first. But when I saw my birth brother and sister and we played, it was better, and I was happy then because they were more gentle. Mummy's got them.
And we got back to the van, and of course Anna opened up the suitcase and started handing out presents. There were people everywhere, and there were presents going around everywhere. It was a bit of a circus.
Eu zic că e perfect. Ia întoarce-te. Just perfect. Nu vreți să ne lăsați puțin, vă rugăm frumos, că e treabă de familie, nu vă supărați. Nu vă supărați, vă rugăm frumos. Mulțumim frumos.
The Oborns are taking Anna's birth family to Constanza, where they plan to spend several days together.
At the time when we first met Marin, when he had been drinking, I thought this is a terrible mistake, we shouldn't have done this. But as soon as we met Fanika and the children, it just somehow it all became right again, and it was a lovely experience. I mean, when we drove back into Constanza and Anna was sitting next to Fanika, and Fanika had her arm round her and Lanutza was on the other side, it gave me a really good feeling. I'm so pleased at that point that we had gone back. I don't know if Anna will appreciate it so much at this stage, but I think in the future she will.
All the children have now spent time with their birth families, but for the Sageman family, there's one more loose end. Today they visit Navadar, the orphanage where they found Stefan 8 years ago.
We wanted to go because we wanted to show Stefan where he was from. He has always had that point of contact because we never knew his birth parents. So the only contact we had for him was the orphanage. And we knew that Teresa was still there.
Teresa was a little girl who was in the orphanage when we first visited Stefan. Seemed a bright, happy little girl, and our interpreter Valentine was particularly taken with her. He kept playing with her, and we knew that she was going to be there, so we were quite anxious to see her. But when we did see her, it was very upsetting.
Lisa? This girl was a man.
Stefan?
Yes.
She's handicapped.
Yes. She was very disturbed, very mentally handicapped and emotionally disturbed, I would say. Standing rocking, and so that was pretty sad, really.
My dad told me that she was brain damaged. I knew that she was handicapped because she was all acting strange.
And just to see her there sort of made me think, well, God, I'm just glad we got him out when we did. I'd hate to think of what would happen if he'd have stayed there. It just horrifies me.
Even the door outside was brought back memories because we always had to wait at the door to be allowed in. So going up the stairs, it just felt like going up the stairs the first time when we were there. It was very similar, although a lot more dressed up with pot plants and not nearly as barren. But I can remember feeling a little bit of anger that because Stefan has some problems now, that here we are in the place that possibly caused all that.
There was this baby in a cot, and I was holding her finger. She wanted it out, but I couldn't lift her out because the cots were a bit too high for me. Yeah. And I picked up some babies on the ground.
Tick-tock, tick-tock.
I hope they get taken away by some families because it isn't fair. I can't imagine what it would be like if I stayed there.
After a week in Constanza, the Sagemans are on their final visit to Florina's birth family.
One of our interpreters told us that some of the villagers, quite a few of them, had been saying that Florica had sold her baby, basically. And that's very distressing. You wonder if us turning up is actually stirring up more trouble.
You can't get away from that. It doesn't matter what we would have done. In Romania, like the stories that people have said to us is, oh, you're taking the children for body parts, you're taking them to work on your big sheep farms. Florica asked us what religion we were, because they'd heard that there was a religious sect that was taking the children and bringing them up in a certain way. Adoption in Romania is out of the ordinary.
All right?
When we arrived for the last visit, one of her eyes was closed and she had a badly bruised mouth and smelt very strongly of drink. But I think Costel had given her a whack in the eye, basically. He did actually tell our interpreters that he had done that, so...
Se întâmplă. Cu lumina. Asta va fi poate mai târziu. Dar recent acum va fi cu vânzarea. Aia.
They're about 5 months behind in their rent. There's no electricity, and apparently it's the only little room in that building that hasn't got electricity. We did give them the money for the back rent, but we just hope that's where it goes. It's just terribly distressing.
We can't lead their lives for them, and we're not going to give them a whole pile of money so they can go out and booze it away. You tell her we'll look after Florina. I don't think there's any real reason why they should be so far in back rent. Okay, things are hard for them, but I mean, we've helped out from time to time. I can't understand why they're in such a condition.
Florina, hai încă puțin. Nu mai că pleacă. Cred că așteaptă mașina.
Mergem.
Cum mamă?
Cum a fost când ați văzut-o după 8 ani?
Emoții mari. M-am pierdut, pur și simplu. Nu mă așteptam să o văd sau... Așa, cum să vă spun, ca oricare părinte.
Gata, mama, lasă jos. Gata, bre, lasă jos, înțelege și mătară, gata.
Lasă că filmează tot. Oh, ești mare.
N-aș mai face așa ceva. N-aș vrea să mai fac acest gest. Nici atunci eu, dacă eram în persoană, aici, când noi am fost despărțiți un pic, am avut un șoc, ne-am despărțit. Nu făceam treaba asta. Dar, totuși, sunt mulțumit că a ajuns pe mâini bune și o duce foarte bine.
All right.
La revedere!
La revedere! La revedere!
Te faci din mână. Păi cum la mână? Se vede.
I would like to go back because I wouldn't have seen them for a long time. It will be a bit different again. I'll take them to different places, not like McDonald's, but like out for a restaurant. Like I'd need a car or something, but I won't be able to afford that. My birth sister or my birth brother might want some rollerblades or something. And I might ask if they'd like to stay the night at our hotel or something, because I love them very much. I think I may go back in 8 years and have a look around at what's changed. I would give them some money so that they could rent their house. I'd like to tell them that I like them. I don't want to go back because I sort of do, but it depends when we're going back and what year and how old I am.
For an 8-year-old, certainly not a place that you'd particularly want to go back to again, but I think that as she gets older and becomes a teenager, she will have a lot of curiosity about the place, and at least she will know what she's going back to, whereas if she hadn't been at this age, she would have no idea, and it would be a big shock.
Yeah, I do want to go back. I don't know, maybe a few years' time, or maybe when I have my own life, and then I could probably go and see them. But I would like to take them out. I would like to maybe take them around other cities in Romania and show them around and sightseeing, because they've only stayed in one place the whole time. I want to say I'm feeling good here. I've told everyone in my class about you, and I'm missing you lots, and I still remember what you look like and other things.
Și-am crescut și-am fost tot supărat, of, noroc, noroc, și de necazuri împovărat, că-am fost hărăzit să n-am noroc, of, noroc, noroc, și să privegesc.
The families and crew would like to thank Lufthansa and Air New Zealand for their generous support.
Noroc, noroc, prea nu te-am avut deloc, că mai ocolit de când eram mic.
If you would like more information about intercountry adoption, please phone ICANS on 09623 9369.